Before I learned about my skin as a doctor and a patient, I had the same problem as everyone else. Good, expensive products, terrible skin. I didn't even realize these habits were affecting my skin. Let's start with the one that I think actually causes the most permanent damage. Number one, stop picking and popping your spots. I used to do this constantly, and it is so satisfying. But even small repeated trauma like picking and popping your spots will cause real structural damage. They cause damage to the sebaceous gland where the spots are. They damage the collagen structures and the surrounding tissues. This is probably the biggest cause of scarring in acne-prone patients. It causes deep pitted scarring, enlarged pores, and pigmentation. This matters more for skin of color because you're prone to getting post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. That pigmentation often feels like it sits deep and can last for years. The spots heal, but the scarring lasts much, much longer and is harder to treat. So resist the urge. Number two, go low. Don't chase high percentages. You really do not need to jump to the highest percentage of an active ingredient to get the best results. I've been asked this a lot. Patients who have started on a lower percentage of tretinoin are so eager to jump to the highest percentage because they think that gets them the biggest results. And I get the instinct, more feels like more, but it's absolutely not. The higher percentage does not mean faster results. I prescribe most patients the lowest percentage of tretinoin to start to stop your face falling off and peeling. Your skin will adapt and the results will come. Number three, stop overwashing your face. Acne is not caused by being dirty. Let's be really clear about that. One of the most common mistakes that I've seen people make is trying to scrub their skin clean. Washing your face aggressively 3-4 times a day does not make it healthy. And you do it because you think bacteria is the problem. In reality, yes, acne does have a relationship with bacteria, but it's really not that simple. Your skin isn't something you need to scrub like dishes. This will just cause more inflammation, and I promise you your skin issues will get worse. And usually when that starts happening, people add more products to try and fix the problem. And that moves on to my next point. Number four, use fewer products. I've done this too. The skincare market is incredibly overwhelming. It's designed to make you feel like you're missing this magical product. You're probably not. Strip it back, pick actives that actually match your skincare concern because you really don't need it all. And then to flip that, here's a point where I think you actually do need more, and that's SPF. Number five, apply enough sunscreen. Most people apply far less sunscreen than is actually needed to achieve the SPF rating on the bottle. Remember, all that SPF testing is done on an amount that is actually very different to what is used in reality. You're spending loads of money on a great SPF 50, but if you're not applying enough, you're only getting an SPF 15 or 10. Always use the 2-finger rule to apply for your face and neck, and that's how you know you're getting enough coverage. Even if you're applying enough, you need to make sure you do the next point to get the best results. Number 6, reapplying sunscreen. Applying it once in the morning is often not enough. Often, if you're in a hot country or you're on holiday, you're sweating or in and out the pool, which means that you don't have enough coverage to last you throughout the day. And this really applies to a lot of my audience who live in India or Australia. On those hot, sweaty days, you should be reapplying every 2 to 3 hours. For that, get an SPF with a spray application that makes it a bit easier. Remember, UV rays are present all year round, including those cloudy days. There's that great case from the New England Journal of Medicine where you see that lorry driver who developed very, very different signs of aging on either side of his face. On one side, it was much, much more severe, where he used to sit by the window. People really forget that UVA can travel through glass. And you can see there's a huge difference from the 2 different sides of his face. And that's what that repeated exposure to UV rays can cause. Your skin is always more exposed than you think. Number 7, sort your sleep. Now, poor sleep does show up in the skin, not just for one night, but also over time. There is research that shows poor sleepers have significantly more signs of aging, and they can have up to 30% reduction in their barrier repair. Your skin does most of its repair overnight. This is when the cell turnover increases and a lot of the collagen synthesis happens. It's one of the most underrated things because it costs you nothing to try and do this. And the difference is real. You'll notice it so quickly. And even when you're sleeping, there is something else that people haven't thought about, and that's your pillowcase. Number 8, change your pillowcase. The oil, sweat, bacteria, and product residue sit on your pillowcase every night. It builds up really fast and your face is pressed against it. I sleep on my face, so I do use a silk pillowcase. This is one I bought from Lily Silk years ago. But even if you have a more affordable cotton one, the key is actually changing it and washing it more often. And it's even worth having spare pillowcases so you can just change them out and wash them really easily. This tiny habit really adds up. Number 9, managing stress. Most people know this in theory, but they don't always make the connection when it comes to their skin. I really noticed this with my own acne. It always gets worse during stressful periods. And now that I've studied this, I understand the mechanism for why. That repeated stress dysregulates your body's immune system and it causes constant low-level inflammation. This inflammation worsens your acne, it triggers eczema flares, it can worsen psoriasis as well. The stress leads to cortisol, which leads to inflammation, which causes these problems. And I know that managing stress is the most generic advice anyone could ever give, but it does really make a huge difference. I'm not going to tell you how to reduce stress in your life, but I do think sometimes taking a step back, looking at what's going on might help you. Number 10, rethink your diet and hydration. It's not the only factor that controls your skin, but it can make a difference. And I'm not suggesting that you make huge, drastic diet changes, but there's a few shifts you can make that might help. The strongest evidence is around glycemic load. That's looking for food with a low glycemic index. And that means they are carbohydrates and sugars that digest more slowly and cause less of an insulin spike. This randomized control trial followed people with a low GI index and noticed that they had less acne after 12 weeks of following that diet. And this was compared to the control group that didn't follow the same low GI diet. The reason that makes sense is that these quick release sugars cause an insulin spike. The insulin spike leads to increased cortisol, which, as I spoke about earlier, that cortisol causes more inflammation, worsens acne, eczema, your healthy skin. By the way, I've talked about inflammation a lot in relation to acne and eczema, these inflammatory skin conditions, but inflammation also worsens skin dehydration, the appearance of signs of aging like wrinkles and fine lines. So it all ties together, even if you don't get acne specifically. So yeah, you don't need to overhaul your entire diet, but making some significant changes and shifts might help you. For example, switching from a sugary cereal to oats, water instead of juice. And on that note, staying hydrated also really makes a difference. Having 2 to 3 liters of water a day keeps your skin hydrated. Dehydration from within reduces your skin's barrier function. It means that all your actives are more irritating or they're going to work less effectively. So you're not going to get the most anti-aging benefits from your retinol. Now, most people don't think about the next few, but I think these are the ones that can cause the most damage. Number 11, being careful with trendy actives. When I was younger, I'd done this myself. I get so caught up in all the brand new exciting releases from different skincare brands. And some of them are great, but when you're using more than one at a time, it's gonna cause more harm than good. And my skin used to always get worse before I made the connection that this was what was happening. Take a second to do some research on these new skincare products before trying it. Find out if it's actually suitable for your skin type and your skin concern. And think about how it plays with other things you're using and whether or not you even need it. Number 12, don't ignore your scalp. This is something that people always forget. Your scalp is part of your skin too. And some of the conditions that affect your scalp will also come and affect your face as well. Seborrheic dermatitis, which is often what people see as dandruff, is a type of inflammatory skin reaction as well. And it can very commonly spread down the hairline onto your eyebrows, your sideburns as well. Healthy hair also plays a huge part of your confidence you feel around your skin, around your face. So looking after your hair and scalp all matters. Scalp conditions will affect the density of your hair over time as well. So if nobody's looked at your scalp before, it's worth asking your doctor to take a look. Now, hot showers feel great, especially in cold weather, but they could ruin your skin. So number 14 is turn down your shower temperature. That heat encourages water evaporation from your skin, that transepidermal water loss. It also breaks up and dissolves that fatty layer, the lipid layer that you work so hard to achieve when you put on moisturizers and barrier repair serums. You're undoing all of that good work by using water that is too hot for your skin. Instead, after the shower, I actually wash my face in cooler water in the sink straight away. It takes me 1 or 2 extra minutes and my skin is noticeably more calm afterwards. Now, number 14 doesn't apply for everyone, and it's watch out for fragrance. Now, this isn't fear-mongering because it really doesn't apply to everyone, but it could be something that's making your skin worse. My skin tolerates fragrance quite well, but fragrance is one of the leading causes of allergic contact dermatitis. And sensitization to fragrance can develop over time, so it might have been something you never had an issue with in the past, but suddenly your skin is more reactive to these products. Just have a look at the labels on your products if you're noticing that your skin is red and reactive. You can try switching to some fragrance-free products. There are loads of good ones on the market. Like I said, my skin tolerates fragrance absolutely fine. So this isn't fear-mongering. This isn't something that everyone needs to do, but you might be the person that sees the most benefit from this. So take a look. Amazing if you have made it this far. These last 2 points are going to make the biggest difference for you. Number 15, be consistent. A simple routine done well will outperform a constantly changing routine, no matter what expensive, amazing products you're using. Tretinoin is a really good example. I prescribed this for so many people, and after 3 or 4 weeks, people are saying that I need to increase my percentage or I need to change it and stop it. And that's because something like tretinoin does make your skin look worse before it will get better. You cannot give up at week 3, 4, 5, 6. You need to be following through with these effective routines and these effective products for at least 3 to 4 months before you're chopping and changing. But the consistency you maintain will help get you there. There are lots of patients who really want to give up after 6 weeks of not getting the results from their acne prescriptions, not knowing that actually at the 8 and 10 week mark, only 2 or 3 weeks away, you're going to start seeing those results. And the last point, number 16, don't wait to get help. Early intervention for acne, for eczema, for rosacea, for psoriasis really changes your long-term outcomes. I've seen lots of people who have been silently sitting on their skin condition for years. And by that point, the pigmentation and scarring is so much more significant, it's really difficult to improve. Particularly for skin of color, that pigmentation can be so stubborn. I'd rather see a patient 6 months earlier and we can make these smaller changes, rather than seeing someone 2 years later who's having to resort to much more intensive treatment to try and help their problems. So don't wait around until it's bad enough that it upsets you. Come and see your doctor earlier than you think. You don't always need more skincare in your life. Sometimes the thing that's holding you back is these small changes that you didn't even realize were the problem. If your skin is still struggling after making these changes, have a look at this video about benzoyl peroxide for acne. It's something that I've prescribed and advised quite a few times, so you might find that that's something helpful for your acne. Please let me know if any of these changes have helped you or if you have some other suggestions. Thanks for watching.